Hello everyone. Today, we will learn dimensioning of composite solids together. First, knowledge review. In the last course, we learned the three views of composite solids: the shape analysis method for composite solids, and the procedures and methods for drawing composite solids. Three views of additive composite solids and subtractive composite solids. Second, teaching objectives. First, dimension classification for composite solids. Second, selection of dimension datum for composite solids. Third, methods and procedures for dimensioning composite solids. Third, new lesson. Composite solids generally require three types of dimensions: shape dimensions, location dimensions, and overall dimensions. First, shape dimensions. They are the dimensions that determine the shape and size of each basic geometric solid within the composite solid. Shape dimensions generally include dimensions in three directions: length, width, and height. When dimensioning a composite solid, follow the shape analysis method, decomposing the composite solid into several basic geometric solids. Mark the shape dimensions for each basic solid. For example, in the figure, it can be divided into a cylinder and a base plate using shape analysis. Mark the shape dimensions for the base plate and the cylinder separately. The shape dimensions for the cylinder are: outer circle diameter phi 20, inner hole diameter phi 12, horizontal circular hole diameter phi 5, and height 20. The shape dimensions for the base plate are to length 50, width 30, height 7, fillet radius R5, and circular hole diameter 4-phi 5. Second, location dimensions. Location dimensions are dimensions that determine the relative positions between the basic geometric solids within the composite solid. When marking location dimensions, one should generally first select the dimension datum. For example, the figure shows the location dimensions for the axes of the four circular holes on the base plate in the length and width directions 40 and 20, and the location dimension 22 in the height direction for the axis of the cylindrical hole on the hollow cylinder. Third, overall dimensions. Dimensions that determine the overall length, width, and height of the composite solid's external shape. To indicate the external size of the composite solid, mark the overall length as 50, overall width as 30, and overall height as 27. When the external shape of the composite solid is circular in a certain direction, overall dimensions are not marked in that direction. For example, in the figure below, the top is semicircular, so the overall height is not marked. Second, selection of dimension datum for composite solids. Location dimensions for composite solids determine relative positions. Therefore, there must be at least one dimension datum in each of the three directions: length, width, and height. For composite solids, symmetry planes, principal axes, and large surfaces are generally selected as dimension datums. For example, in this graphic, the bottom surface is chosen as the datum for height. The centerline is chosen for symmetry in the length direction. The centerline is chosen as the dimension datum for symmetry in the width direction. When the shapes and positions of the components of a composite solid vary, the number of location dimensions also varies. Figure A has three location dimensions. Figure B has 2, Figure C has 1, and Figure D has 0. Third, procedures for dimensioning composite solids. Step 1. Perform shape analysis on the composite solid. Step 2. Dimension each component part. Step 3. Select the dimension datum. Step 4. Mark the location dimensions. Step 5. Mark the overall dimensions. Step 6. Check and verify. Next, we will explain using an example. Dimension the workpiece shown in this drawing. The figure on the right is the 3 views of a support bracket. First, using shape analysis. The support bracket can be divided into 3 component parts: base plate, vertical plate, and rib plate. Through analysis, we can visualize the 3-dimensional shape of the support bracket. The vertical plate and rib plate are placed on top of the base plate, with the vertical plate leaning against the back. The base plate has 2 cylinders and 2 fillets removed from it. Second, dimension each component part. Based on the characteristics of each part, mark the individual dimensions for each part. The first figure shows the dimensions of the vertical plate. Arc radius R16. Circular hole diameter phi 16. Height from the circular hole axis to the bottom 20. Vertical plate thickness 10. Base plate length 56, width to 32. Location dimension for base plate circular holes in length direction 40. Location dimension in width direction 24. Circular hole diameter 2 by phi 10. Base plate fillet R8. Length of the upper line on the rib plate 12. Length of the lower line 22. Height 10. Rib plate width 8. Third, select dimension datum. The support bracket is symmetrical left and right. Therefore, choose the left-right symmetry plane as the dimension datum for the length direction. Choose the bottom surface of the base plate as the dimension datum for the height direction. Choose the common rear surface of the base plate and vertical plate as the dimension datum for the width direction. Fourth, mark location dimensions. Mark 3 location dimensions between the various solids. Location dimension from the circular hole on the vertical plate to the height direction datum 30. Location dimension for the small holes on the base plate in the width direction 24. Location dimension in the length direction 40. Fifth, mark overall dimensions. Mark the 2 overall dimensions of the support bracket. Overall length 56, overall width 32. Since the upper end of the support bracket is a semi-cylinder, after marking the location and shape dimensions, the overall height dimension in this direction is not marked. Sixth, check and verify. The focus of checking is whether the dimensions are complete and clear, and if there are any omissions or repetitions. Make appropriate adjustments based on the verification. Fourth, reading the dimensions of an engine front mount bracket. First, through shape analysis, decompose the engine front mount bracket into 2 main parts, namely, the base and the vertical plate. The base is below, the vertical plate is above. The 2 parts are symmetrical left and right, and their rear surfaces are coplanar. Second, analysis of main shape dimensions. The shape dimensions for the rectangular base are length 228, width 42, height 30. The shape dimensions for the vertical plate are bottom length 144. Radius are 66 for the upper semi-cylindrical surface, width 30, height 114. Obtained using 78 minus 30 plus 66 through hole diameter phi 84. The shape dimensions for the through slot on the base are length 132, height 6. The shape dimensions for the front notch on the base plate are length 168, width 12, calculated from 42 minus 30. Third, dimension datum analysis. The bottom surface of the rectangular base on the bracket is the height direction dimension datum. The rear surface is the width direction dimension datum because it is symmetrical left and right. The left-right symmetry plane is the length direction dimension datum. Fourth, analysis of main location dimensions. 78 is the height direction location dimension for the phi 84 circular hole on the vertical plate. The location dimensions for the two mounting holes on the base plate, 192 in the length direction, 24 in the width direction. Fifth, overall dimension analysis, overall length 228, overall width 42. Because the upper part is semi-cylindrical, the overall height dimension is not marked. Fifth, teaching summary. Today, we first learned the dimension classification for composite solids. Second, we learned the selection of dimension datum for composite solids. Third, methods and procedures for dimensioning composite solids. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.